Welcome to the Woodhounds, everyone. It's great to be back again. My name is Joe, and I'm sitting across the table here at Woodhound Studio from my good friend, Dan. Dan, why don't you tell the world hello?
Hello, world, and hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning back into another episode of the podcast. We've been having a lot of fun. The response has been great. We have started to get in a few emails. So we're starting to hear back from some of you, which is also great. So yeah, it's another great day being a woodhound.
Everything's great.
Yes.
Yeah.
Except
so our
the
numbers, yeah, the weather is not great. The weather is the opposite of great, whatever that word is. But one thing that is great are the numbers, our reception. Our dashboard is just, it's lit up like a Maserati on a drag strip, isn't it?
It is. It's very it's great to see the locations of where people are tuning in from, and just I guess the overall response in general.
Yeah, this has just been a lot of fun, and it's exciting too, because I guess it's one thing to have your interests, and they're your interests and they make sense to you, but when you share them and it connects with people, and that's been exciting.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
It's always fun to not only, like if you cross back over into the YouTube world, just getting a sense of the community that's being built and getting to know some of the people, and you get to see names that you become familiar with in the comments, and and we have started getting a few comments on the podcast as well, so that's great.
Yeah, that's real neat.
And as a reminder, if you want, you can leave a comment, I think, on any of the platforms, the podcasting platforms you might be listening on. Otherwise, just always remember thewoodhounds@gmail.com. Send us an email.
Yeah. If you are new to our podcast, we're known as the Woodhounds, and Dan and I both got our start on YouTube. We are firewood channels on YouTube. My channel's name is Ohio Woodburner, and Dan's channel is Back 40 Firewood. We both post regularly, and we share a lot of the same interests, and we kind of have about the same view of the world, and we just thought we would put together a podcast about firewood, and I find it enjoyable.
Yes, and that's one of the things we did receive a comment on is the title of the podcast, and I guess we never really went into what a woodhound is.
Yeah, that is a new term for me as well, and I do know that the name originated from your channel.
Yeah,
and that was a term that you had. I don't know. Did you grow up with it, or maybe could you tell us the story of the history behind what is a woodhound?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you were not the only one who had never heard of the term woodhound. It is something that I grew up with. It's a term that my mom would call my dad whenever he was out making firewood or cutting trees down in the forest, dragging logs back to the farm during the winter, bringing firewood into the house. Anytime he was working with firewood, my mom would always say something like, "Oh, the old woodhounds out there, working in the wood yard again," or "The old woodhounds brought a log back to the farm." And so when I started my YouTube channel, I just kind of started incorporating that into, what I was talking about. And it just took off and kind of caught on. And now we kind of have this community or group of people that we refer to ourselves as woodhounds.
Yeah, I think that's really cool, and it turned out to be a really cool name for our podcast.
Yes.
Why didn't you name your YouTube channel the Woodhound?
Well, I probably could have. I just, like I said, when I first started, I had the idea of, because my dad and I would always make our firewood down on the farm in the back 40, which I probably should quick explain that term as well, because I'm not sure how many people know about that.
I love that term.
But that just kind of it sounded good, and it fit right with back 40 firewood. So that's why I named my channel that. But
Okay. So the Woodhounds hang out at the back 40.
that's where we did, yes. And if you think about like the word hound, it's not necessarily referring to like a dog necessarily. It's the act of relentlessly pursuing something, like you're hounding firewood.
Yeah. One who searches.
Yep. You're always on the lookout. You're always trying to find more. You're hounding firewood.
Yeah.
So
there was when I was growing up in elementary school, there was a cartoon character, and I think he was a hound. Oh, that's going to bother me now, because I won a reading contest like in second grade, and I won this stuffed animal, and it was a hound, and he was like the national character of getting kids to read. But that was like the whole thing was, you were hounding for books and looking for new books to read.
Right. Well, if you think of like a coonhound or a bloodhound, like the line of dogs, like that is their general purpose, is to hunt down and track and find things. So it does cross over into, I guess you could, not that it's, probably too glamorous to say we're a bunch of dogs.
Yeah.
But yeah, so woodhound originated down, I don't know if the term had been around before. I have said on my channel that my mom kind of coined the phrase. And so now woodhound is, I think, a term everyone kind of associates themselves with if they're into firewood.
But it did turn out to be a really cool name for a podcast. And Dan and I had struggled on, what are we going to name this podcast? And, we were just coming up, we were thinking, we were trying to think of like, what describes both of us? And we're like, the two good looking guys, firewood podcast. And we're like, no. Two wealthy and intelligent men. No, that didn't work.
No, definitely not. Strike two.
Yeah, strike two. And then we, it was just like the Woodhound. I was a little hesitant to bring it up because I didn't know if it was like, if you were like real possessive and protective of it. But
oh no, I didn't mind at all.
Well, I would be scared of having it associated with a podcast that was an epic fail. So.
Well, the thing is that's also unique about it is I think it kind of has that characteristic where there's a little intrigue. If you don't know what it is, you may be intrigued to check it out, and if you know what it is, then you're like, I know what the Woodhounds are. I need to listen to them.
Yeah, I think it's a nice name. I think it's a friendly name. It elicits like an immediate connection that you have with people. Not like you all hate each other and therefore you're connected by that.
Right.
but the opposite, you both enjoy working and firewooding and, shooting the breeze out at the wood pile.
Yep.
I think, the Woodhound, if it has an antonym, an opposite, it would probably be the wood snob.
Oh, the wood snob. Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, that term came up in a couple episodes ago, but the wood snob, it's the opposite of the woodhound.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe that could have been the term for our podcast, but I don't think we're snobby though. Do you?
I don't think so. No.
I think, we all know what a snob is. And it's a phenomenon, I think, that happens in no matter what niche you're in. And you could be a baker, you know, a candlestick maker, a farmer, a car enthusiast, a gun enthusiast, and people that um, develop a hobby. I think they got one of two major routes to go with it. One is where they just love what they do and they just want to share it with everyone and grow, this interest around something that they're passionate about. I think that would be the woodhound.
Yes.
And then the snob would be, someone where this becomes their identity and they use that to define who they are by pointing out others who are not like them. And that's where the snob becomes,
Yes.
And
Yep.
I don't know, you don't really see that in firewood with legitimate wood snobs like you would with, in cars. I have a classic car, but I don't drive it around, and it's not like a weapon that I use, to define how great I am. But like, the stereotype in cars would be like the guys that own the Corvettes, that they become the snobs where
Yep.
everyone loves the Corvette, but they hate the guys that drive them. It's just like that image, they got their jacket and they don't want to talk to people that aren't Corvette drivers.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
They walk around, their nose is held up a little higher. And
Yeah. I see that, I enjoy guns, I'm a hunter. I just, it's not like something that I wear on my sleeve. It was just because that's the way I was brought up, and, it's just a part of our life. But man, there are people out there that, just real snobby with guns where they walk around with a chip on their shoulder,
Yeah.
And I would imagine that's the same, like you see it in restaurants with cooks. And I remember when I was an auto mechanic, there were mechanics that it wasn't the fact that they were just repairing a car. It was that they had a skill that you didn't have and they were going to make you aware of it.
Oh, yeah. Now, do you run into wood snobs as customers where, they only want that one species of wood and it has to be barkless and, real detail in their what they want and their needs, and if you don't deliver that, then you're in trouble.
Yeah. I had ran into a wood snob very, very early into my professional career, because I was around firewood, for a long time. But when I started selling firewood, I had it in my head what I wanted to do. I had my own theories, about small splits, high quality stuff. And I was still pretty unsure with what I was doing. Is this actually going to work? And I still remember when I was just starting out, I had my truck. It was all lettered up. And I pulled into a Cracker Barrel because I had heard that Cracker Barrels buy firewood, because they have a fireplace inside.
Yeah.
So I drive around the Cracker Barrel, and sure enough, they had a rack outside of their store. And I parked my truck right next to it, and I get out and I'm just looking at the wood because I'm thinking, well, if I'm going to make a sales pitch, I could see what I'm up against. So while I was there, the wood was okay. It wasn't great, but it was okay. A gentleman, it was an elderly guy, comes walking around the corner and he sees my truck and just assumes that the firewood is mine. And he started going off about how people these days don't know what real firewood is. They split it too small. Look at this stuff. He goes, you need a big chunk of firewood, and he wasn't like, being, confrontational about it, but he was just letting me know that, what he thought was my firewood, I didn't know what I was doing.
His opinion was the rule, the standard.
Yeah. It's like everyone has their opinion, and therefore, the world must bow to what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And so I remember, starting out, I was thinking, oh my, what the heck? Maybe I am, thinking of the wrong thing with firewood here. Maybe I should sell these gigantic chunks, and just dump it on people's driveways and leave. But after, I stuck with it, but I never forgot that. It was just kind of an awkward discussion. I eventually told him, I says, like, well, this isn't my stuff. My wood's actually split even smaller than the stuff that you see here, but yeah, but that's like, there are people out there that, it was just the way that they remembered firewood growing up, and that's just the way it's got to be.
Yep.
And you probably get it too with like your roadside stand. People might even, be offended by the kind of wood that you're selling on the roadside stand.
Yeah, I've had one time where, a similar situation where they just questioned, their main concern was the species. They only wanted oak, and they preferred, which they, air quotes, they said they preferred, which I took as this is a stand. This has to be met as a, requirement.
Uh-huh.
They preferred barkless. And so I said, well, what I have, I put out here, and I don't really separate it out that way. And, I was nice to him and just explained the whole, process of, like, I sell mostly for recreational burning in your backyard, your fire pit, campfire. So I didn't have what they wanted, and they were fine. They left without any wood.
Yeah. Do you know, I run into a lot of wood snobs, not on YouTube. I think people on YouTube are nice. Maybe it's because it's more like relationship based. But
Yeah.
where I have ran into a number of wood snobs is on Facebook.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Yes.
I posted a video of my Easton made axis, and it was just a 3-minute video of me splitting wood. And my Ohio woodburner, we're moderately successful. We're profitable, and we're growing, and we're enjoying our time. So I just filmed me for 3 minutes splitting our firewood. And my gosh, this video has like it went viral. I have like 6 million views on it. And there's like, there's 2,000 comments, and probably 1,800 comments are people telling me that I don't know what I'm doing. That I'm splitting the wood too small. I'm unsafe when I am splitting it, but the majority of it was just mocking my firewood. They're calling it toothpicks, too small and all. And it doesn't matter that is not the type of market I'm going after. I don't sell big chunk wood. I have a theory that, the smaller the split, the more money it's worth. So why sell my wood cheap,
Right.
But wow, people were mad.
Oh, it's a whole different, and you wouldn't think it would be, but it is a completely different world between YouTube and Facebook.
They weren't saying, oh wow, I noticed you're splitting the wood small. How come? It was, it was condemning me. They were condemning me.
I had a very similar situation on a video I had on Facebook. And the split sizes were actually bigger than what I normally do. And everyone was like, why are you making toothpicks? No one would, why are you splitting it that small? Why? The other one that was really funny was how I was destroying $2,000 worth of lumber by making it into firewood.
Yeah.
What are you going to do with that $100 worth of firewood? You just destroyed $2,000 worth of lumber.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's because if it was made into lumber, maybe, but
yes.
I can't do that. So I will do what I can, which is firewood.
Yep.
But that I must have seen the word toothpicks. I'm using my air quotes here. Toothpicks 100 times. People calling my firewood toothpicks, mocking it. But I would point out that my theory still holds, even if they are toothpicks, because the smaller the split, the more money it's worth. And you can buy yourself a little tiny box of toothpicks for $1, but how many of those boxes of toothpicks would comprise one stick of firewood? Huh?
Oh, yeah.
Who's the snob now? Huh?
Now you're talking. Wow. Yes.
Yeah, it's just the way I see firewood. It's a commodity, So
Yep.
if the log is gigantic, it's for the boiler, and it's not worth a lot of money.
No.
If it's split smaller for a house, the price goes up. If it is split smaller for a pizza oven, the price goes up. If it's split smaller for kindling, the price goes up. And if
Yep.
it's split for toothpicks, the price goes way up. So who's the snob
Right.
now? Huh?
Yeah. Yeah. And I
Yeah.
think a lot of people just are too they're focused on, their past experience or their current experience with firewood,
Yeah.
and they look at things that are different as wrong. And I think that's a
Yes.
lot of what is out there with any topic. I mean,
Yeah. Politics.
yep, what you have, what your way is the right way, and if you see it another way, the first response is usually, well, that's wrong because that's not how I do it. So,
Right. I think you might have just hit the nail on the head.
yep.
And hopefully that nail didn't exist in that log you're getting ready to cut up later. But maybe that's just the way people are conditioned. Anything that's different is wrong. Anything that's foreign should be feared.
Yeah.
If you see it in politics, if you didn't vote for my guy, then you're un-American. You're dumb and I'm not. It's just that
Right.
mentality. And I don't know. It's like on these Facebook comments were just hilarious.
Well,
if I didn't have high self-esteem, I'd probably be on Facebook all night long just replying to all these people, because they're just, the one guy was like, he made it a point to just say, I would never buy firewood off of you, he said.
oh,
I was like, well, why not? How about just don't buy firewood off of me and just leave it at that, but he had to tell me. And it was
right.
based because I split my firewood too small.
How did you ever walk back from the ledge or off that bridge to to redeem yourself and go on Facebook again?
Yeah. I've always said I've been cursed with high self-esteem because people, whatever someone says about me is none of my business. And usually when people criticize me, they're usually right. So, good for them. They've pointed it out. So we can still be friends and let's move on.
Right. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. But that is, I think if there's a difference, an opposite to the woodhound, it's the wood snob.
The wood snobs. I would have to agree. And they
are out there.
They are out there. But the only difference, I think with the wood snobs are more individual. They have their way and that's it. But like the woodhounds, it's like more of coming together. We all understand each other and we all appreciate, somebody else's way of doing it. It's two different breeds or two different ways of thinking. I don't know what it is.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I consider you a woodhound.
Yes, well, I consider you one as well, my fellow woodhound. And I think I can almost say with 99% certainty, everyone out there listening right now would be a woodhound. You can consider yourself a woodhound.
Yeah.
You're part of us.
Yeah, that is so true. And I don't know. I think some channels, I'm going back to YouTube now. You think of all the comments and different channels that are out there. Some channels, I think, invite drama and conflict. But I think the ones that are just, representing firewood and just enjoy their time, the comments section's enjoyable.
Yeah.
And
yep.
I don't know if there's different I don't like this word, niche. Yeah, I don't like that word. Whatever. It's a snobby word. There's different categories on YouTube that I watch, and you get I like solar power, and man, there's some really. Here's a good one where I see a lot of snobby behavior is electricity. for like home repairs and stuff. Okay, I recognize that it's dangerous and you shouldn't do something DIY if you don't know what you're doing. But some people that are very knowledgeable in electricity, I mean, they use it as a weapon. They can't even take the time to define watts as in amps times volts. They just, I don't know. I just see it in a lot of different categories, but I don't necessarily see it, at least on YouTube. People are nice.
Yep.
And I think everyone accepts that, there's different ways that people do it. And I think everyone's good with it.
Yeah. Well, and I think there's that sense of like, when I get the opportunity to watch other channels, and I always am looking at how they're doing it in relation to how I do things, and there's something that I could pick up and do better. Like I am always trying to learn, and I think that's another difference between snobs and woodhounds is like the snob thinks that they've learned it all and they are the expert.
Yeah,
and they want to project that onto you. Where
you are just very insightful, man.
Oh,
that is. I think that's another element of being a snob is that they're done learning.
Yep.
And that reminded me, there was another gentleman. He owned a wood yard, and he was a dealer for like conveyors and splitters. And we were on vacation, and I just stopped in, and I told myself firewood too, and man, he knew everything, and he didn't give a hoot about nothing except telling me what he knew, and he was saying how delivery is bad. You shouldn't be delivering firewood. It should only be pickup only. And, he was just one of these, just very opinionated, very snobby. And I just, to each their own, I was thinking, but it sounds like he is done learning.
Yep.
he just does what he does, but he was taking it one step farther, was, anything different than what I'm saying is wrong.
Yeah.
Well, here's a rival explanation for you. Maybe not, because I'm doing okay, and I do it exactly opposite of you.
There's a chance that my way does work and is working. So
yeah. Wow.
Damn. The horizon. Ooh.
This has been an interesting topic. I'm glad we brought it up.
It once again, it just can stem off into so many directions. So many...
we could be here all day long.
Oh my goodness. We really could. We really could.
This is a funny episode here. I'm glad we did this. All right. Well, is there anything else that we need to bring up about the woodhounds and the wood snobs?
I don't think so.
I think we've covered it all. I am very curious to hear the insights of our listeners, and if they could please send us an email.
Yes.
What's our email address again?
thewoodhounds@gmail.com.
Easy.
Yes.
Easy to remember. Yep. All right. Well, Dan, maybe this is a good time to say goodbye.
Yeah. Good. Another great episode. Great seeing you again, Joe. Always a pleasure.
Great seeing you, Dan.
And all you woodhounds out there, don't become a wood snob and stick with listening to the woodhounds.
Be the opposite of a wood snob and be a woodhound. And we'll always have a spot by the campfire for you at the back 40.
Yes.
Ooh, I like that. Yeah. All right. Well, Dan, let's start the music here, and let's tell everyone goodbye, and let's hope that we can see you back here again next week.
Yes, indeed. Everyone, thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in, and everyone,
be cool.